and welcome to another episode of Atomic Vinyl Reviews. My name is Jacob, and today, got an unboxing video, so let's get right into this one. So we got a nice, fairly moderate-sized package from Japan, and I'm really interested to see what we got in here today. So, got my little trusty knife, and we'll just get rid of all of this packing tape. Okay. Flip it open, show you guys first. Ooh, I think I know what this is. Let's pull it out. Come on, I'll just flip it over. Okay, it's in there pretty firmly. There we go. So we got a nice little box here with a MonsterArts logo right there. So, yeah, always a very exciting day when we got a MonsterArts logo, and they're in Japanese. It says Gamera 1995, which is just bloody awesome, because I've been super excited for this figure, guys. Let me tell you that, because I'm a really big Gamera fan, and I especially love the 90s trilogy, and I especially love Gamera Guardian of the Universe. So my all-time favorite kaiju films, and definitely my favorite Gamera film, and one of my favorite Gamera designs. I absolutely love this design, and, you know, I got my other two MonsterArts Gameras right here. I took them out because I was suspecting this is what was in this box here, and I'm glad I did, because it looks like it's exactly what I suspected. But yeah, I got those figures and they're bloody awesome, but I was just waiting till the day we got this one. So let's get right into this. Very neatly packed bubble wrap. Now, I got this one from, what was the seller again? I don't even remember, actually. If I remember to remember, then I will put the seller that I got this from in the description below. But they did a great job in packing this one. So here we go. A nice, fancy cardboard box here. Oh, you can tell this is a Japan exclusive because they usually package them in these sort of cardboard shipping container type boxes instead of just it being the, you know, normal sort of box. And if I'm correct, it will also mean that the box on the inside won't have any of those clear windows that a lot of the ones that are a little bit more easily accessible have, the non-Japan exclusives, web exclusives I think they're called. So if we slice this, a little bit of tape around this edge. Okay. Down there. Oops. This. Okay. Oops. I know. This will help us. There we go. Ooh, already? Look at that. Got a little Gamera poking out here. Haha. So hopefully this just slides out easy. There we go. Yep, I was right. It doesn't have any of the windows on it. It just has this blank, not blank, but this solid cardboard opaque exterior with this very cool looking Gamera on the front here. Oh, I'm already super excited to see the figure on the inside. So, got all the normal Tamashii stickers and logos here. Don't have the Toho logo on it, which is a nice change, because normally all of these figures seem to be Godzilla figures. The whole MonsterArts line is just almost all dedicated to Godzilla figures, I've noticed, which is really interesting, because it started off with a couple of other things, like Predators, King Kong, and Alien figures, and stuff like that. But yeah, since then it's just become Godzilla-centric, which I absolutely love, but Gamera figures are a nice little change. So, how should we open them? We could go from the top or the bottom. I tend to go from the bottom, because I lost my knife. Where the fuck did I put it? Oh, here it is. There we go. No need to get upset. Yeah, so I usually open them from the bottom just to leave the top a little bit nicer, but with these sort of boxes, which, you know, go back in their little fancy cardboard boxes anyway, I don't really care too much. I always try and keep the boxes as neat as humanly possible, but I don't generally have them on display. Some boxes I do, but I generally just have the figures out on display. But I always maintain my boxes and keep them all nice and fresh. If I ever need to, God forbid, sell one of these guys, which I don't plan to, but you know, it's always good. Anyway, got a little instruction manual and our figure here. Ooh. Okay. Got a lot of accessories, which is a really awesome thing, because some of these figures come with very limited accessories, and then we get other ones like this, which, look at that, come with a whole bunch. There's a figure in there, a beautiful little Gamera, the Guardian of the Universe, friend to all children, giant flying fire-breathing turtle. I love Gamera. He's just the awesomest just concept for a kaiju, I think. So first let's open up the main box. We'll get into the bonus little items a little bit later. Square them around. Doesn't seem to be any tape. Yeah, no tape. So it'll just come out. There we go. Well, luckily these things click in really nicely, so they're secured really well, these figures. It smells very fresh. Fresh vinyl, MonsterArts, whatever you want to call it. We'll put that to the side for now. Put our instructions to the side for now. And we'll get the main guy out here. So they always have this little floaty piece that just holds the front of the body there. And he's got his nice little blanket of plastic under him. And here is our beautiful little Gamera, the Guardian of the Universe. Okay, can you guys see that? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, he smells very fresh. Got that fresh MonsterArts smell, which is always bloody awesome. Let's take a quick look at him. Very similar to the 1996, I believe, version. Which, yeah, but they definitely tweaked him quite a little bit. And let's just have a look at the shell here, because I was curious if it's the identical mold of the same shell, which would make sense, because I'm pretty sure they used the same shell and stuff for the next film. They just modified the suit a little bit, and it actually does look like a lot of this figure is the same. All of it? No, definitely not all of it, but some of the features. I think the shell, judging by all the little barnacles and stuff on it, seems to be identical, but the arms and the head is different, and the paint job. So the greener one is the Guardian of the Universe one here, and this is the first Gamera from Gamera 2, 1996, I believe. Just kind of give you guys a little bit of a look. Don't worry, when I do a full review of this guy, I know I'm really slow to get my full reviews out, but eventually I will. But when I do that, you'll get a little bit of a better look at a comparison of these two, but that's just kind of a brief little look. So the main differences is our new Gamera. He has a bigger head, more green paint job, and yeah, just all around the paint job is different. And I think his chest, yeah, it doesn't open up like the previous one, which I think is a good thing, because you can see right there, an issue I had with this figure, the 1996, I believe, figure, Gamera 2, is that his chest, although it was a cool little addition, that you could open up his chest and he can have his mana beam, or whatever it was called, where his big chest opens up and he kills Legion with that weird orb thing in his chest. Fucking, god damn, this is tedious. So yeah, his chest opened up, and I'm just gonna do it here because doing it in front of the camera is a real pain. But as much as I love this feature, I wish they could have just given us a bonus, a replacement piece to make this thing work, because opening his chest up is a real pain, and there's a really badly done version of it right there. But when you try and close it up, it feels like his chest plates never properly align. They tend to open up randomly, and it's easy to kind of, you know, just get it to make it look like a mess. Like, I don't know. I thought that I would have liked him to feel a little more solid in the chest, because, you know, you shake it around and that top bit always flies up, and these kind of never aligned quite right, and, you know, it had little issues here. Still love this figure a lot. This is a great Gamera design. But I was always just slightly more a fan of this design, and I am really happy that his chest here seems to be nice and solid. Now I think we do get some replacement bits that we can mess around with his body, so we'll explore those in a sec. But yeah, just taking a look at him, nice big head, so he feels a little bit more chunky, because this is already the Gamera figures that MonsterArts are putting out. They are really chunky, all three of them. The shells are very heavy as far as MonsterArts figures go. So there's the Gamera 3 there. Look at it, there's a nice, really extravagant, crazy shell that we got on this guy with some cool battle damage and all that stuff. This guy had really shitty teeth, but aside from that, I love this figure. Because we had, what would you call it, plasma hand there. But for now, we'll talk about this guy. So let's have a brief look at him. Tail seems to be identical to the previous one. The shell is also, like I said, identical, just with a different paint job. The green seems a little bit more subtle than it does in a lot of the photos that I've seen. It looked a little bit obnoxious in some of the photos, just being overly bright. Here it's a really nice earthy tone. It actually complements the figure really nicely. And his head is very nicely done. He's got this nice, really matte gray paint job all over his body. Looks very, very accurate to the suit. Ooh, his mouth opens up nice and wide, and his tongue articulates. Now you can kind of get a glimpse of that. The camera is a little bit overexposed, so he does look a tad brighter than he does in life. But you get a good idea of that mouth there. Opens really wide. Got this little articulated tongue, which is bloody awesome. Close it up there. Yeah, really handsome looking guy we got going here. Handsome little figure. So the difference between this suit and the one that followed him up was he didn't have these elbow spikes, which, you know, the elbow spikes were a thing, which was actually kind of a controversy when they were trying to make this film. They kind of, somebody making this film didn't want the elbow spikes, but somebody ended up just getting it in, and I don't know. Look up some of the making of details of these films, it's quite interesting. But the original design didn't have those elbow spikes, so he had simpler arms. They articulate a little oddly because it's a little hard to get the whole shell thing to work with some of these little floating bits here, but you can generally make them work. So I'll mess around with that later and figure that out for the review. Head moves down like that far, moves up like that far. Got limited by the shell here, which the shell piece here, it is like a separate floating piece. This very top segment of the shell, this about here, there's a line in it. And I don't know how they built it on this figure, but an issue that some people had with the original figure here of Gamera 2 is that this shell piece that floats here, it wasn't on a ball joint or anything, so it was just on a little peg or something that people occasionally like snapped or had damage. So you do have to be careful with it, not to do too much with it, but it just helps him articulate up his neck a little bit more. Personally, I kind of wish that they would have just let his shell be solid at this point without the need for that. They could have probably set it solid in a more upright position, and that would have just functioned fine for what the figure needed without having it be on a floating piece. So I don't know why they still did that. It's just like a little tiny nitpick, but you know, still works fine. And this shell is beautiful because I love this big armored shell that we get on this guy with the previous figure. Yeah, and I do really like the big head on him as well. Ooh, his mouth falls out. Okay, so you can see there his mouth is on a little ball joint. It's really blurry, but oh, okay, you can see that there. So that might be an issue in future. We'll see. The tongue is kind of like weirdly on the ball joint. Like it's a very strange joint that they used for this mouth here, where the tongue is kind of like on the top of that little hinge that has a ball joint that goes into the back of the throat there. Very bright pink inside of the mouth, but it's in person it's a lot nicer, more organic looking than I'd say it does on camera. But yeah, let's get to the accessories now. All our Gameras have been coming with some pretty interesting and a very full-on accessories compared to some of the other figures in this line. So he does tend to always come with some flight accessories, which is really cool. So here we have these two jets, which I'm assuming you can replace his legs and lower torso to support these sort of blasting blue jets. So this is a cool little effect piece right there. Nice transparent plastic with some white frosting down the tips and some little explosion bits at the top there. It's not in focus, but you guys get the idea. And the piece de resistance, we get these little flame, what would you call them? Scythes or something, or machetes. And these are to represent Gamera's weird UFO flying flames where he does that in the movies. And I'm so happy that they have these in here, because I really am not a fan of the version of Gamera where he's flying with his, like, airplane wings and just, like, jets coming out of the back like this. It looks really awkward and dumb, in my opinion, and as much as I absolutely love the 90s Gamera films, when they decided to introduce that in the second and third film, it was a bit cringy. Not gonna lie. Not a big fan of that. So, it's purely because I just absolutely loved the way Gamera was always depicted flying like a flying saucer and spinning around, you know, in this classic sort of way with these little flying beams. And I absolutely adored that, and I thought the way that they did that in the first Gamera trilogy film there was absolutely amazing, and I just loved the effects that they did there. When he first flew off after, you know, trying to fight the Gauss in that stadium. And every time I saw that, you know, in that movie and all in the 60s films, there was just such an awesome little touch, which is such a big part of Gamera's personality and the character. I find that to have him sort of flying with these awkward wings, looking kind of really derpy, I don't know. I didn't like it. That's just me. But yeah, let's get on to the rest of these accessories. So it looks like we don't have a beam, which is fine because we have a couple of other beams that we can use. We can probably... Whoop. This is like weirdly taped with a little bit of a stand piece. That's kind of interesting. Get that off. A little circular disc stand in here. We'll check that out in a sec. So what have we got in here? Ah, it's like a little clear... I don't know if you guys can make that out, but this has the imprint of his shell, his chest, on there, and it looks like this is what he sits on when he's in his flying poses. So it's just a perfectly round little disc piece, and I'm assuming that you just kind of press that onto him here, and then he's meant to fit in there. It's not really taking hold, as it were, but perhaps if I fiddle with that a little bit more later on, we'll see how that works out. So that's an interesting little stand piece. We've got something similar, but with a little bit more of a wider shape like that. So I'm kind of curious how these two would work together. We got another clear arm. There we go, clear arm. We've got his lower torso piece, which I'm assuming you rip out his privates and replace them with this little segment here. And we have a plastic anus. I don't know. That's probably to replace some other piece, and it goes probably where his tail would be or something. I don't know. We'll figure all this out in a second. And this little circle here, and another one of these little stands, which is little fire-based stands, which have been in the MonsterArts line for quite a while now. They came with that first Gamera. And yeah, I'll get this opened, and we'll mess around with some of these articulation pieces, and we'll take a look in this booklet, figure it all out. So, I'll just give you guys a quick little look at this. You guys can pause that if you want to have a look. There's this side. Whoops. It just gives you an idea of everything that's going on here. It's in Japanese, so I can't read it, but it seems pretty simple enough to work out. So, I figured it out. Okay. This is his head when he's in his flying pose. That's really weird, but kind of funny. Okay, so that'll replace his head when he's in his flying pose, and okay. So I don't really feel like taking him apart and putting him all together with all these little effect parts in this little video, and it's getting kind of long for an unboxing, guys. So I'm going to leave it at that, but I'll just probably they probably have an image of it on the box for you guys. On the back here. It's a little bit glary, but you can make it out there. His little flying poses, they look like that. So I'm going to show you that in my full in-depth review, which I'll be doing God only knows when, but I will get to it eventually, hopefully soon. And yeah, then we'll get a good look at this figure. But for now, I like it. This is a very handsome little figure, and the Gamera figure that I've been waiting for all this time. So I'm super happy to get him in here with the rest of my collection. We can bring him in with the other guys here, our other Gameras. So now we have our whole Gamera trilogy all together, and just a beautiful little line of figures. And now we just need to wait till we get a Gamera Showa figure in this line, which will be bloody awesome. I'm just dying to get one of those too. So Tamashii Nations, Bandai, MonsterArts, whatever you guys want to call yourselves, make it happen. And yeah, that has been it for this little video, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because it's always super awesome when you guys do that. And yeah, may all your vinyl be irradiated vinyl. Over and